Ladies and gentlemen, this is Josh Holyfield, and welcome back to another episode of the Josh Holyfield podcast. The title of tonight's episode is, what is it? Fuck What They Think. But before we get started, I'd like to go ahead and announce one of our sponsors. Tonight's episode is sponsored by Vagisil. For those moments when you lack the motivation to handle your shit, you might as well get familiar with our biggest sponsor. Now, man the fuck up or grab yourself some Vagisil. Now, on to the show. We're going to spend some time talking about the opinions of others and how that motivates us as men to take action or sometimes even take inaction in our own lives. And so this is something that I have contended with for almost my entire life. And I'm hoping to come on here with this message tonight to give you guys a perspective that you probably haven't seen or heard when it comes to this subject matter. So buckle up, grab your Vagisil if you haven't already, and let's get this party started. Hey, and real quick before we get started, I don't know if you guys know this already, but this is episode 2 of our new podcast, the Josh Holyfield podcast, where the intent here is to expand the purview of the topics that we discuss beyond just fitness. If you've been around for long enough for us to hang out and do the Make America Swole Again podcast, the final episode of that aired about 4 weeks ago, and now we're transitioning into this new project where hopefully I can provide you guys with even more fucking value. I don't know if you guys know this, but I only personally carry a limited number of clients for my coaching. I only have one guy that I do check-ins with on Mondays. And basically what I've done is I've scheduled out my Sunday to fill my times for all of my one-to-one face-to-face check-ins with my clients. And so as it stands right now, from 7 o'clock in the morning all the way up until 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sundays, I do all my check-ins for the week, get all of my clients knocked out, optimize their programs, get everything moving. And then that's it. I don't have to worry about dealing with clients for the whole week. It makes it really easy so that I can focus on investing time into my staff and running my businesses rather than having to babysit clients. And most of the guys who've been with me have been with me for at least 12 months. If not, their intention is to stay with me for that long. I typically keep my clients for long periods. We don't have a lot of rollover. So first things first is just so you know, I do have one open slot in the morning on Sundays. That call takes place at 11 a.m. That's when the check-in is. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, send me a direct message and we can talk about that. Now, the reason I'm sharing that with you is because one of my clients this weekend on our check-in, we had a conversation that I think would be valuable for you guys. So I decided that I was going to spend some time and share it with you. And so one of the things that, and so for context, this guy, you may or may not know him, but he's a mega millionaire. I'm not going to say him by name just to protect his privacy. His net worth is well into the 8 figures. He's the type of guy who is very successful. He's good at what he does. When we started working together, the only reason why, the only thing that he really had trouble with was keeping his weight in check. And part of the reason why he had such a hard time keeping his weight in check was just because he had sacrificed so much of himself to build his career, build his life, and put himself into a position where he was so well off. Not just that, but he was never really taught the skills that he needed to know in order to eat healthy and stay in shape. And believe it or not, it's not something a lot of people learn. I can't tell you how many people I've worked with who are grown men who are still on the chicken tenders and French fries diet because they don't know what healthy eating looks like or even consists of. So anyway, we've been working together, and since we started together, it's been about 2 years. He's lost well over 100 pounds. His mindset has completely shifted. His confidence has completely shifted. He's actually he's been historically single. He started dating. He's become more and more just becoming the man that he wants to be. And typically our check-ins nowadays are just kind of addressing mental health issues as they arise. And then obviously optimizing his programming to make sure that he's getting stronger and better and seeing better results over time. And so a lot of the conversations that we have are very philosophical, broad, theoretical type, psychology theory type things that we discuss. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he likes to live in a world where he's very self aware and self analytical, where he tries to understand why it is that he's behaving the way he is, or thinking the way that he is, or feeling the way he is. Right. And so he came to me on Sunday and he basically said one of the struggles that he's having is caring what people think. And he's like, I know that I shouldn't care what people think of me, but it's so hard not to. And it's kind of funny because we've been raised and conditioned by society to put on this facade where we puff out our chest and declare to the world that we don't give a fuck what people think. And when everybody knows it's a lie. The truth is, you puffing your chest out and beating your drum, talking about how little you care about what people think. The only reason you're doing that is because you care what they think. Otherwise, you wouldn't feel the need to declare it. The fact is, especially as men, is 100% of the things that we do in modern society are driven somewhat, to some degree, by one of two things. Okay. And those two things are sex and status. And you could even make the argument that they are driven by one thing, and that's status. Because the person that you're having sex with as a man partially dictates your status, right? If you have a beautiful woman on your arm who's loyal to you and is a 10 out of 10, she treats you right, that's a status symbol for a man. If you got a fat fucking heifer hanging off your arm who walks around and doesn't take care of herself, take care of her kids, she's a slob and she looks like shit and disrespects you and isn't loyal to you, that's not a status symbol. It makes you look bad to the world. Now, this isn't me being an asshole. This is me just speaking the truth, right? If your wife is not loyal to you, if she's out there sleeping around on you behind your back, part of the reason why it hurts so bad as a man is because it directly impacts your reputation. It makes you feel as if whatever it is that you're providing is not enough. You feel inadequate. And the question that you're asking yourself is, how is the person that she's cheating with better than me? What is he offering that I am not offering? I know for me personally, when I went through that where my ex was cheating, that was where my head was, is where is it that I'm inadequate? That's how we as men think. It's a status thing. And so if you are in a place where you're trying to force yourself to believe that you shouldn't care what people think, I'm going to make the argument that's socially irresponsible. You should care what people think. You should value the opinions and the feelings of the people around you. And your actions should be influenced by a word that we seemingly have forgotten, which is empathy, and another, compassion, right? And it's funny because if you think about it, like me saying that I don't care what people think is almost the equivalent of me just openly admitting that I'm the type of person who's just inconsiderate of other people's feelings or perspectives. Now, obviously, I'm taking that another layer, right? Where I hope that's not their intent. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But the point that I'm making here is you're always going to care what people think, my guy. Look down at your life. Look at your car, your vehicle, your truck. Look at your clothes. Look at the things that you own. Look at your house. Look at the woman that you have. Look at your children and how they're dressed and what they do. Look at your hobbies. Look at your social media. Look at the things that you put out into the world. Look at your friends. Look at the people you associate. Look at your job. Look at everything that you have is dictated and influenced by what people think. And the fact is as a man, you're operating in this space where you want the world to perceive that you have this high value, your high status, right? That's why it feels good to drive a new car, right? That's why it feels good to get a new house. That's why it feels good to make a lot of money. That's why it feels good to have a beautiful woman, because in the society we're in today, those are the things that dictate status. And the higher my status, the higher on the pecking order I fall when it comes to the unspoken hierarchy of men. We no longer live in a world where the hierarchy of, we'll say, leadership or the alpha within, the male side of society is no longer dictated just by the physicality or the ability to fight. Now it's dictated based upon your ability to protect and provide in other ways, which are mostly driven by monetary abilities or access. AKA, the more money I have, the greater my status. The greater my status, the greater the access to women and places and things and all of that happen, right? This is typically the conversation that you would see occurring with a red pill masculinity type guy. So we're living in this space where on one side of the fence, you have these, we'll say, zealots stomping around the world like children, being inconsiderate of everyone around them, saying, I don't fucking care what people think. You should accept me as I am. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have these red pill, we'll say, masculinity dudes who think that their status or them being a high value man is the most important thing in the world. I think reality dictates that neither one of those is actually the case or what's true. In fact, I would make the argument that having a healthy amount of, we'll say, concern for people's opinions is important, right? To say the least. And then on the other end of it, being concerned with others' feelings and things that are not measurable, like how much money you make or how many women you've slept with or how beautiful your wife is or what kind of car you drive. Character can be measured by, your value can be measured by a lot more than those things, aka your virtues, your integrity, your character, your discipline, your fortitude, your perseverance, your mindset, etc. And I think a lot of times we forget those things, and we like to create these conditions in the world where we live in in a world of absolutes. Accept me for what I am, or don't fucking be part of my life. If you don't like what I'm doing, get out. If you're not, what's the word? If you're not my friend, you're my enemy type thing, right? Or on the other end of the spectrum, it's the only thing that fucking matters is how many people like you or how many friends you have or how much money you have and all that stuff. We're missing that piece in the middle. And so I was having this conversation with this client, and he's, like I said, he's telling me how much trouble he's having managing that feeling, that anxiety that comes with what people's thoughts are, right? And so I'm going to give you a few examples of things that you guys may or may not have gone through and give you some perspective. And so the very first thing is I want you to think about when you made a change for yourself. Weight loss, started going to the gym, started getting better shape, committed to quitting smoking, decided you were going to take up a diet, start taking care of yourself, going on runs, being more active, something that's healthy or good or positive. Decide you're going to go back to school or start a business, right? There's so many things that we could list off here that maybe you made this decision in your 30s or your 40s or even your 50s where you decided you were going to go off and step off of the beaten path and change the paradigm of what your life was and become something different. Typically, when you do something like that, there are two types of people in your life. The first group of people are what we'll call the crabs in a bucket people. The crabs in a bucket people are the ones who are going to cheer you on when you get started, but as soon as you start to climb out of that bucket, they're going to be grabbing you and trying to pull you back in. They are passive aggressive and make you feel guilty for making the changes in your life. They are narcissistic about it. They gaslight you or they make fun of you for trying to make this positive change. Once you start to make progress and you're actually changing the dialogue that inner work that group of people is having. The second school of people that you'll find in your life when you make that change are the ones who are your biggest fans. They're your cheerleaders. They're supportive and they stand behind you when you do it. And I'm going to tell you right now, the ones who are part of the former, the crabs in the bucket group, those are the people who aren't doing shit with their lives. Those are the people who wake up every day and they live the same monotony, struggle with the same fucking problems that they've been struggling with year after year, make zero progress in their lives, aren't making considerable positive changes, or they're not even focused upon their own personal growth. and they stomp around through life making fucking excuses and telling a story for why they're not where they want to be. They've settled, they're comfortable, they do not have a growth mindset, and those people are in your life, they are literally parasites. Okay? They're cancer. The second school of people, I guarantee you, are the ones who have already done what you're doing. They've already quit smoking. They've already started a business. They've already, pursued their weight loss journey. They've already pursued their dream job. They've already taken the risk and were willing to put themselves out there and suffer so that they could create the life that they want to create. The ones who cheer you on, who believe in you, okay, are the ones who don't need you to fail to validate their identity. The ones who try to pull you down, the crabs in a bucket, are the ones who are telling a fucking story. Those are the ones who have the biggest opinion, who are most vocal about it, and seem to be the ones with the most fucking input. Why is that? Like I said, because they're going through life and they're telling this story and they're making these excuses and telling everyone around them why they're not where they want to be, why they're not successful, why they didn't make it, why they can't make the change, why they haven't committed, why they didn't succeed, why they gave up. And it's never their fault. It's the story. It's the circumstance. It's the situation. And so what happens when you change that conversation? What happens when you make the decision that you're no longer going to tell that fucking story anymore because you know it's bullshit? And you stop telling the lie. What happens when you make the decision that you're not going to be a fucking victim anymore? I can tell you right now what happens. All those people that you've surrounded yourself, who made you feel comfortable in your space of monotony, made you feel comfortable settling for less than who you could be, now suddenly they're starting to feel very fucking uncomfortable. Okay? Because you're standing in a place where you're proving them wrong, okay? It's not about you, it's about them. And that leads me into the second point that I wanted to talk about when it comes to the subject, is you need to understand that people's feelings, their opinions of you, and their behaviors are not influenced by your actions, they're influenced by theirs. It's not personal. You are in their life because you serve a purpose. And for some people, that purpose that you're serving is validating the story that they tell. And when you no longer feed into that fucking bullshit, they no longer have a seat for you at their table. When you start holding them accountable or proving them wrong or putting pressure upon them to make a change, you'll see how quickly they eradicate you from their life. And they'll do it in a way that makes you the villain. In the same way, the people that you have in your life, the only reason they are there is because you've made a decision internally, whether it be consciously or subconsciously, that they serve a purpose for you. Think about it. There's not a person in your life who's there for any other reason other than the fact that they serve some type of purpose for you. In fact, I would make the argument that most of the people that you have in your life at a personal level, the reason you keep them there is because they validate part of your identity. They make you feel like you're the version of you that you want to be. And so when you start changing that conversation and you start to become a different person, it threatens their identity. They become insecure. This is why we find so often that in relationships, if one person makes a decision that they're going to start making healthy choices and getting in shape and losing weight, and the other doesn't, eventually that couple will come to a point where either the person who made the resolution will quit or they will split. If they're not both on that path towards weight loss and being healthy, either the one who started will eventually quit because he or she feels bad, or they'll split because the one who didn't make the change feels insecure and insignificant since that person made the commitment to themselves. Why is that? Because most relationships are so codependent that the partner's identity relies upon what the other person is doing and the choices that they're making and what they do. It's unfortunate, but this is a fact. I've seen it over and over. Husband starts to get in shape, starts going to the gym. At first, the wife cheers him on. Suddenly, she's complaining to him because he's spending less time at home. He's not taking care of her needs. She's becoming emotionally distant. He's never around. He's making these changes so that he can be a better father and husband for her. But the truth is, the reason why she resents him for it is because it puts pressure upon her to start losing weight and getting in shape, because it makes her feel inadequate when he starts to look better. They fight. They argue. They split. I've seen it over and over. Or what happens is he starts to get in shape. She becomes inspired, makes the decision that she's going to get in shape, and then they both live happily ever after because they have a common thing that they share together. It's one or the other. Okay. Or he feels bad and goes back to being a fat, lazy fuck because his wife feels more confident being a fat, lazy fuck. And he tells himself, oh, my wife said that she likes the dad bod. I'm just going to go back to being a dad bod guy and being proud of that because my wife likes that. When we both know that the reason that she said she likes the fucking dad bod is because when you have a dad bod, it makes it okay for her to have a fucking dad bod. And now she's walking around looking like fucking Dumbo, and you don't have shit that you can say about it, and you know you're not attracted to it. You don't like it. You don't like the fact she doesn't take care of herself. She's lost herself. She makes zero fucking effort. She doesn't even fucking comb her hair anymore. She puts her hair up in a fucking messy bun and throws on sweatpants to fucking go through her day. You go home and fucking bust your ass, or you go to work and bust your ass all day at fucking work, and you get to see her fucking hour by hour Facebook updates talking about how she's such a fucking victim in her own life. She struggles with all this fucking hard things that are associated with being a stay-at-home mom, yet she doesn't have the time to get off of her fat ass and go to the fucking gym or start taking care of herself. And then she guilts you into making that decision for yourself when you get home from work because you want to be an example for your fucking kids. You know how many times I've seen that? Obviously a lot, because I've just rattled that off within a fucking 30-second period as if it's like literally a replay on just about every client that I've ever worked with who has an overweight wife. You have to make a decision on what it is that you want to do, right? So we talked a little bit about the different types of peoples and how their opinions of you impact you and your decisions and your choices. There's a third kind of topic that I wanted to talk about that. And so I'm going to start this with a question. Would you rather have a friend who tells you what you want to hear, or would you rather have a friend tell you what you need to hear? I would make the argument that the friend who tells you what you want to hear instead of what you need to hear is not your fucking friend. He's a cancer. He's enabling your poor choices, your poor decisions. You don't need people in your life who don't empower you to be better and hold you accountable to be a better person of yourself. And so that's kind of where we're going with this conversation tonight. Is I know as a man, I'm always going to be living in a world where I care what people around me think. I value the opinions of the people I have in my life. I love and I appreciate that input. And for most men, what you seek is you seek the appreciation and the gratitude of the people that you provide for and you have in your life. In fact, there's a lot of men who struggle with learning how to be proud of, appreciate, and validate themselves. And so what they do is they actually solely rely upon that validation and appreciation from the people around them. And that's part of the reason why they struggle so much with their mental health, including depression, is because they never feel like they're enough. And so what do? They place the burdens of those insecurities upon the people around them and expect them to be appreciative and show gratitude and validate their needs. This is very common amongst men nowadays. And the reason this is so common amongst men nowadays is because deep down in their hearts, they know that they're not truly doing things that are meaningful. They know that they're not reaching their potential and impact that they could be creating when it comes to serving the world. And so they feel insecure because they know they're not pushing themselves. They know that they're comfortable. They know that they're living basically in a place where they're at the bare minimum. It's like the wife who knows she put on 20 pounds and tries to put on the red dress and asks her husband if it makes her look fat and expects him to say no just to make her feel better about herself, when it's not the dress that makes you look fat, Sally. It's the fucking Twinkies. But if you tell her that, you're the bad guy. We as men, we do the same thing. We don't push ourselves and fulfill our purpose and pursue our personal growth and what we could be doing and create meaningful habits and create purpose in our lives. We do the bare minimum. We think that all we have to do is just provide a fucking paycheck and go through day in and day out with this monotonous lifestyle. We know that we're not doing what we could be or should be doing. But instead of taking ownership and accountability of that and staying in a place of integrity and making the change where we start living in our purpose, we offload that insecurity upon our wives and our families and resent them because they're not grateful, appreciative, or whatever the case may be. If you were doing what you were supposed to be doing in your life, you wouldn't need anybody to validate you. Let me prove it to you. If you were to take the word insecure and replace it with inadequate, it would be a perfect replacement. Everywhere where you as a man are feeling insecure, just replace that word with inadequate, right? If you're insecure about how much money you bring home and to provide for your family, or the fact that or insecure about your job or your career, the fact is the reason you're insecure about that is because you feel that it's inadequate. If you're insecure in the bedroom, the reason why you feel insecure in the bedroom is because you feel that it's inadequate. If you're insecure in your relationship with your wife, the reason why you feel insecure in that relationship is because something about how you're showing up in that relationship makes you feel that you're inadequate. The one thing that we cannot change is how people think, their opinions, what they do, and how they feel. We can't control those things. The only thing that we can control is what we do, how we show up, our attitude. And so if you're in a place where you're feeling insecure or inadequate, I would charge you to take the actions necessary so that you can change that. Example, if you're feeling insecure in your relationship, I would make the argument that the reason why you're feeling insecure is because that you know that you're not showing up the way that you should be for your wife. If you're feeling insecure with your boss or your job, I would make the argument that the reason why you feel insecure in that space is because you know that you're not showing up as a man that you should be doing that thing. If you're feeling insecure in any vertical of your life, any discipline of your life, with your body, with your fitness, with your health, with your appearance, with your anything, it's 100% because you feel inadequate. And by walking around projecting those insecurities upon the world around you, what you're doing is you're placing the burdens of your inadequacies upon those around you rather than taking the ownership and the accountability that you should be taking by making that change. So how does this apply to the conversation that I'm having tonight, which is fuck what they think, in reference to people's opinion of you? We talked a little bit about the two types of people. We talked about the crabs in the bucket type of people who want to pull you down. You talk about the successful people, the ones who want to lift you up. We talked about the people in your life who are insecure. And we talked a little bit about the social contracts that those people place upon you to validate their identities. We know that no matter what, we as men, we as people are always going to worry about what people think. It's a given. Again, everything that we do is driven by that. So how do we use this to our advantage? That's the question. How do you use this to your advantage? And it's very simple. It's not about ignoring or disregarding the opinions of those around you and trying to assume this I don't give a fuck what people think attitude, which we've already discussed is irresponsible and pretty stupid. Instead, what you do is you control the people around you. That's what you control. That's the variable. I'm sure that you've probably seen it. If you hang out with 5 bodybuilders, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 drug addicts, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 fucking football fans, you'll be the 6th. You are who you put yourself around. Birds of a feather flock together. If you tell me the 5 people that a person spends most of their time with, I will tell you who that person is. And so why don't you use this to your advantage rather than look at it as a negative thing? I can now put myself around people, friends, who are going to tell me what I need to hear, who are higher caste in life and whatever discipline it is that I'm trying to elevate. And by doing that, I have now surrounded myself with people whose opinions of me I value, I respect, and whose opinions of me are going to push me to be a better version of myself. If I want to build a business that's worth X number of millions of dollars, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start surrounding myself with business owners who make X millions of dollars. If I want to get in great shape and I'm out of shape and I'm overweight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to surround myself with people who are in great shape. Okay? If I want to be really good at fucking RC kart racing, then I'm going to surround myself with all the people who race RC cars so that I can get really good at it. This is the nature of who we are as people. The problem that most of you guys have and most people have is they choose to surround themselves with people who validate their current identity and make them feel comfortable rather than surrounding themselves with people who make them feel uncomfortable. Today, I don't know if you guys know this, but I've been doing some social media management and some work on the side for a very high level executive business owner. Her and her husband are very successful. Okay. And we're talking about 9-figure entrepreneurs. And I weaseled my way into their circle by basically offering an immense amount of value. And she's invested, we'll say, close to over 5 figures into paying me to do this work for her over the past 7 or 8 months. Last week, she sent me an email that said, "Hey, I'd like to do a 30-minute call with you on Zoom just to do an overview of everything. Let me know what time it works for you." Do you think I felt insecure? Do you think I was worried about that meeting? Or do you think I was excited for it? I was pumped for it because the way that I looked at that meeting was was an opportunity for me to showcase all the success and the hard work that I had done for her since she hired me, bring more value to the table, and position myself to get even more opportunity working for her and her husband so that I could learn even more and deeper ingrain myself within their circle, which is a very hard circle to get into. It's very exclusive, and you have to prove your worth over a period of years in order to earn their trust. Would you be nervous or excited if your boss texted you right now and he said, "Yo, I need you to come into my office tomorrow morning before whatever. I need to have a quick chat with you"? Or if you're a business owner, what if one of your biggest accounts or clients texted you and said, "Hey, I need to talk to you. What time works for you tomorrow? Do a quick call." Would you be nervous or excited? When you start putting yourself around the people who are going to force you to elevate, what you can do is you can leverage your natural, we'll say, innate need for approval from those around you and use that as a tool to make yourself a better person and put you on a trajectory towards creating the life that you want to create. Think about that. Who you spend your time with is one of the most important things. So if you're not spending your time around people who are holding you accountable to the commitments that you make to yourself, holding you accountable to your potential and what you could be, people who believe in you, sometimes more than you believe in yourself, people who elevate you, people who want you to be better, people who are more than what you are now, that is how you are going to elevate your life and become a better man. On the contrary, if you're spending all of your time around people who are not bringing value, who are not elevating you, who are constantly criticizing you, who are dragging you down, who are distracting you from your goals and making it more difficult for you to create the life that you want to create, you can see where that goes. Most of you have attached yourself to the people around you because it validates the identity that you've created for yourself. And it's hard to break free of that because, again, you value the wrong people's opinions. What will my friends think? What will my wife think? What will this guy think? What will this fucking dumb asshole think if I make the decision that I want to do something that I know is what I should be doing for myself? This is why the woman that you choose And Mary is so fucking important because that's the person that you spend the most time with. Most of you guys and most of my past clients I've found, right? All of them, the ones who struggle, it's not a coincidence that their wives struggle. And Steve said in the chat right here, he said, the overwhelming majority of my closest friends are all business owners. Interesting. And Steve is a very successful business owner. Most of my friends, also business owners. I would consider Steve one of my friends. He's on the list of people I consider a friend. He's a business owner. Most of the guys that I associate with outside of this are entrepreneurs, and we collaborate on building our businesses and getting better. Are the people that you're spending your time surrounded around you, are they pushing you to be a better version of whatever it is that you want to be, or are they a distraction? Or are you hanging out with losers because you're a fucking loser? You don't see dudes in shape hanging out with groups of fat people. There's a reason for that. And you don't see fat people hanging out with groups of people who are all in great shape. This is not a coincidence. And it's also not an effect. It's not a cause, it's an effect. So what that basically means is I have the ability to choose who I surround myself with, which is going to ultimately create the effect of whatever that is. It's the whole story of the ugly duckling. Anyway, I wanted to spend some time sharing that perspective with you tonight because I think it was very valuable, the conversation that him and I had, and I gave him kind of a Cliff's Notes version of what I talked about for you guys tonight. But, bro, it's irresponsible to walk through the world stomping around like an immature fucking 12-year-old telling everybody that you don't give a fuck what they think of you. Nobody fucking cares, first of all. And secondly, just the fact that you're saying that tells otherwise. We all care what people think. But I can tell you right now, most of the people who have negative opinions of me, I don't even know they fucking exist. I don't even know who they are. They're worried about what I'm doing, and I don't even fucking think, I don't even think twice about them. Their opinions are irrelevant. And the reason their opinions are irrelevant is because they have no input in no capacity, no input or capacity to help to drive me towards creating the life that I want to create. Therefore, they have no seat at the table in my life. They have no space in my life. And because they have no space in my life, their opinion doesn't fucking matter. In fact, it's not even considered because it's not valued. That's how you control this. So you should always care about what people think. You just have to make sure that you care about the opinions of the right people. And typically that coincides with making sure you surround yourself with the right people. This is exactly why I'm so firm and I lack any degree of tolerance whatsoever for negative attitudes or disrespect inside of my Facebook community, and why it's lasted this many years with so many members without having mass exodus of people leaving or fighting or arguing, because the second a bad apple comes into the space, I immediately remove them. Do you have bad apples in your life? Why are they still in your life creating distractions? That's the question you should be asking yourself. So anyway, with that said, I really appreciate you fine Americans spending the evening with me tonight. One more time, in case you missed it earlier this morning, tonight's episode is sponsored by Vagisil. For those moments when you lack the motivation to handle your shit, you might as well get familiar with our biggest sponsor. Man the fuck up or grab yourself some Vagisil. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. On Thursday night's Iron Forge call, which is going to take place right here in the Facebook group or on the Iron Forge's Facebook page or right here on YouTube, wherever you want to tune in, we're going to be spending some time. I'm going to talk about a conversation I had with myself the other day after a long week. And that conversation started with me telling myself that I no longer want to be so angry. If you want to learn about that internal reflection and conversation and what it was derived from and how it can apply to you, tune in Thursday night for some dialogue with me and my coaching staff. We're going to talk about our experiences with those feelings and what we can do as men to navigate them. All you guys who tuned in, thank you so much. Again, if you enjoyed the show, do me a favor, share, put it on your feed. Make short clips of this if you like video editing and put it on your fucking socials and share that. Get the message out there.